Our planet is a truly remarkable place, a vibrant sphere teeming with life in all its myriad forms. But this life is not spread evenly across its surface. Instead, it is organized into vast, distinct communities known as biomes. A biome is a very large area of the earth where plants and animals have adapted to a particular climate. Think of it as a vast neighborhood where the weather, soil, and living creatures all fit together perfectly. The two main factors that define a biome are temperature and the amount of rainfall it receives. These conditions determine what kind of plants can grow there, which in turn influences what kinds of animals can survive. Each biome has its own unique character, a special combination of life and landscapes. The towering trees of a rainforest create a world entirely different from the wide, open spaces of a grassland. The bone-dry conditions of a desert support creatures that could not survive in the frozen lands of the tundra. These communities of life have developed over millions of years, with every species playing a part. It is a delicate and intricate dance of survival and interdependence, a grand system where everything is connected. Understanding biomes is the first step toward appreciating the sheer complexity and beauty of the natural world. Within a biome, plants are often called producers. They capture energy from the sun through photosynthesis, forming the foundation of the food web. Animals, the consumers, depend on these plants for food and energy. Some animals eat plants, others eat the plant eaters, but all are linked back to the flora that defines their home. Even the non-living elements, the soil, the land's slope, the availability of water play a crucial role in shaping the environment and determining which species thrive. Together, they create the unique conditions that make each biome a world unto itself. So when we look at our planet, we are not just seeing land and water. We are seeing a collection of extraordinary living systems. From the icy poles to the sweltering equator, these biomes are the great theaters of life on Earth. Each one tells a story of adaptation, resilience, and connection. They are the fundamental building blocks of our living planet, the vast canvases upon which the epic story of evolution has been painted. It is a story that continues to unfold, and one that we are all a part of, whether we realize it or not. The lands of our planet are home to a spectacular variety of terrestrial, or land-based, biomes. One of the most well-known is the tropical rainforest, a world of constant warmth and abundant rainfall. Here, colossal trees form a dense canopy, casting the forest floor into dim light while life explodes in astonishing diversity. Further from the equator are the grasslands, vast plains like the African savanna or the North American prairie, dominated by grasses and scattered trees. These ecosystems support massive herds of grazing animals, which in turn provide food for magnificent predators. Grasslands are shaped by seasonal rains and often, by fire. Then there are the deserts, where life survives in extreme heat and near total dryness. Cacti store water in their fleshy stems, and nocturnal animals like the fennec fox emerge only at night to avoid the scorching sun. Deserts may seem empty, but they are delicate ecosystems where life clings on with astonishing tenacity. At the other extreme lies the tundra, the frozen biome of the polar regions. The ground here remains frozen just below the surface in a condition called permafrost. Only hardy, low-growing plants like mosses and lichens survive the bitter cold and short growing seasons. Beyond these are the great forests of the temperate zones. Deciduous forests, filled with broadleaf trees like oak and maple, offer a spectacular display of color in autumn before shading their leaves. Coniferous forests, or taiga, are dominated by evergreen trees like pine and fir, perfectly adapted to long, cold winters. These forests act as the lungs of our planet, absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, and are home to a wide range of animals, from bears and wolves to insects in the soil. The Earth's aquatic environments are just as vital. The largest biome of all is the marine biome, covering over 70% of Earth's surface. It includes the deep ocean, coral reefs, and coastal estuaries. Life here is incredibly diverse, from tiny plankton, the base of the marine food web, to the blue whale, the largest animal to ever live. Freshwater biomes, though much smaller, are equally important. They include rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds. These watery worlds provide drinking water for countless species, including humans, and support a rich variety of fish, amphibians, and birds. Within each of these magnificent biomes lies an incredible variety of life. This variety is what we call biodiversity, the sum total of all living things on Earth. It includes the number of species, the genetic differences within those species, and the variety of ecosystems in which they live. Biodiversity is not just beautiful, it's essential. Every species, no matter how small, plays a role in the health of its ecosystem. It's like a complex machine where every part matters. Remove one cog, and the system may start to falter. Bees pollinate crops. Forests clean the air and water. Wetlands prevent flooding. These are called ecosystem services, and they are provided to us freely by nature. Biodiversity also provides us with food, medicine, and materials. Many medicines we use today were first discovered in plants and animals. The genetic diversity within crops helps us develop new varieties that can withstand disease and changing climates. When we lose biodiversity, we lose potential cures, new food sources, and natural resilience. We are tearing pages from the book of life before we've had a chance to read them. A diverse ecosystem is a resilient one. It can better withstand droughts, floods, or disease outbreaks. But as biodiversity declines, this safety net weakens. The web of life becomes simpler, more fragile, and more prone to collapse. Protecting biodiversity isn't just about saving animals, it's about saving ourselves. India is one of the world's megadiverse countries, thanks to its vast range of biomes. From the snow-capped Himalayas in the north to the arid Thar Desert in the west, from the tropical rainforests of the Western Ghats to the coastal mangrove swamps and coral reefs, India contains nearly every major biome. This variety supports over 90,000 species of animals and more than 45,000 species of plants. It's one of the few places on Earth where both the tiger and the lion roam. It's home to the Asiatic elephant, the one-horned rhinoceros, and the elusive snow leopard often called the ghost of the mountains. Birdlife is just as rich, from the majestic Indian peafowl to tiny, colorful sunbirds. Biodiversity in India is not just found in wild places, it is deeply embedded in culture. Many animals and plants are considered sacred. Traditional knowledge and close connections with nature have helped conserve this richness for generations. But this precious heritage is under threat. The greatest danger is habitat loss. Forests are cleared for agriculture. Cities expand. Roads and dams fragment wildlife corridors. Pollution from industries and agriculture poisons rivers and soil. Overfishing, unsustainable logging, and the spread of invasive species put further pressure on ecosystems. And overarching it all is climate change, which alters the very conditions that species have adapted to over millennia. In response, people and governments are working to conserve what remains. Conservation takes two main forms. In situ conservation means protecting species in their natural homes through national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. These are safe havens where ecosystems can function naturally. Laws like India's Wildlife Protection Act provide a framework for managing and safeguarding these areas. The second type, ex situ conservation, protects species outside their natural habitats. Botanical gardens preserve plant diversity. Zoos run breeding programs for endangered animals with the aim of reintroducing them into the wild. International agreements, like the Convention on Biological Diversity, unite countries in a shared mission to protect the planet's living heritage. But governments and scientists cannot do this alone. The responsibility lies with all of us. It begins with education and awareness. The more we understand nature, the more we are inspired to protect it. Communities play a crucial role, often acting as the best guardians of their local environments. Our individual choices matter too. We can reduce, reuse, and recycle. We can support sustainable products. We can plant native trees and protect green spaces. We can speak out and push for stronger environmental laws. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to a larger goal. Because in the end, we are all part of this magnificent tapestry of life. and its future is in our hands. Hey everyone. Let's talk about something that shapes every breath we take and every meal we eat: ecosystems. Sounds big? That's because it is. But don't worry, I'm going to break down the different types of ecosystems and why they matter. Whether you are trying to ace your next exam or just want to sound smart at parties, this is for you. So first up, how do we even classify ecosystems? It basically comes down to where they are and what makes them tick. We've got two main categories: terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems. Terrestrial ecosystems are all about life on land. Think forests, deserts, grasslands, and tundras. Each one has its own vibe, shaped by climate, soil, and the creatures that call it home. For example, tropical rainforests are like nature's ultimate party: warm, wet, and packed with more species than you can imagine. Deserts, on the other hand, have fewer guests, but those guests are tough like cacti and camels built to survive with almost no water. Now let's dive literally into aquatic ecosystems. They cover about 70% of our planet and are divided into two main types: freshwater and marine. Freshwater ecosystems include rivers, lakes, ponds, and wetlands, basically anywhere you find water that isn't salty. These places are crucial for drinking water, irrigation, and even your favorite fishing spots. Then there's the marine side: oceans, coral reefs, and estuaries. Oceans are the heavyweights here, supporting everything from tiny plankton to massive whales. And coral reefs? They're the rainforests of the sea, biodiversity hotspots that are as vibrant as they are fragile. But here's a twist. Did you know we also have artificial ecosystems? Think croplands and cities. These are human-made, but they are still ecosystems, with their own unique interactions and challenges. We can't ignore them when we talk about conservation or sustainability. And remember, ecosystems aren't frozen in time. They change constantly. Sometimes it's slow, like a forest regrowing after a fire. Sometimes it's way too fast thanks to human activity. Natural disasters, climate shifts, and ecological succession all play a role. But when we bulldoze forests or pollute rivers, those changes can become rapid and often irreversible. That's where monitoring and research come in, helping us spot problems before they get out of hand. So how do we protect these systems? Enter ecosystem conservation. This includes everything from creating national parks and wildlife sanctuaries to setting up gene banks and botanical gardens. And no, it's not just about saving cute animals, although let's be real, that's a bonus. It's about making sure ecosystems keep doing what they do best: cleaning our air and water, storing carbon, and supporting life. International agreements like the Convention on Biological Diversity and national efforts like India's Biodiversity Action Plan are about making sure we don't mess this up. Finally, let's talk about the elephant and the economist in the room: ecology versus economy. People love to pit them against each other, but here's the truth: you can't have a healthy economy without a healthy environment. Short-term profits from mining or logging might look good now, but if they wreck the ecosystems we rely on, the bill comes due later big time. That's why concepts like the green economy and natural capital accounting matter. So next time you think about where your food comes from or why clean air matters, remember, it's all about ecosystems. And protecting them isn't just smart science. It's smart living. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you want more insights like this, you know what to do: hit that subscribe button. For billions of years, I have watched in silence, feeling every sting that settles in my atmosphere. Today, I witnessed Delhi awaken beneath a heavy grey shroud. This isn't the gentle morning mist I remember, but a harsh blend of dust, smoke, and poisons you can't even see. There was a time when the air was so pure, the Himalayas stood clear on the horizon. Now, I can only whisper my pain through the coughs of my people and the dim sun that barely breaks through the hedge. This suffocation isn't written in history books, but in the lungs of millions. A modern tragedy in a nation racing toward progress yet forgetting its oldest partner, nature. In a small apartment above the city, Arjun wakes up. His throat is dry. He's preparing for the UPSC exams. His dream. His hope. He looks outside, he can't even see the park across the street. His phone lights up. The air quality index is deep in the severe range. Sadly, it's nothing new, especially in winter. The questions he studies about environmental governance and sustainable development no longer feel like distant theories. They are urgent, personal. He's breathing them in with every breath. He walks into the living room, where his grandfather, Dr. Sharma, sits reading. Dadu, Arjun asks, I read about the graded response action plan for Delhi's air pollution. We have so many rules, but why does the air keep getting worse? Dr. Sharma looks up, concern etched into his aging face. Ah, Arjun, he says softly, laws are like signposts on a road. They can show us the right way, but they cannot force us to walk it. The problem isn't a lack of rules, it's a lack of collective will. A system that often fails to connect the dots between policy and people. He sighs, his gaze drifting to the smog-choked skyline. We've become disconnected from the very air that sustains us. The sources are many: stubble burning, vehicle emissions, unregulated construction, industrial waste. Each a challenge on its own. Together, a crisis. Clean fuels like CNG, electric vehicles, they are positive steps, but the scale of the problem is immense. It requires not just technology, but a shift in how we live, build, and grow as a society. Moved by Arjun's curiosity, Dr. Sharma walks to an old bookshelf and pulls down a thick, leather-bound journal. Its pages are yellowed, filled with meticulous handwriting. When I was your age, the challenges were different but the environmental questions just as urgent, he says, handing the journal to Arjun. I started this during my first field study. It's not just data, it's the story of our country's relationship with its environment. Read it. Maybe you'll find answers, or, better yet, the right questions to ask as a future administrator. Arjun opens the journal. The first chapter, The Burdened Land. It describes how India's soil, the very foundation of its civilization, is suffering. Land degradation, desertification, loss of fertile topsoil due to deforestation and poor farming practices. Dr. Sharma writes about how chemical fertilizers and pesticides are poisoning the soil, reducing productivity, and contaminating the very food we eat. Another section is titled, Scars on the Earth's Skin. It details the harsh impact of open-cast mining, how it leaves behind barren pits, destroys forests, and displaces tribal communities whose lives are deeply tied to the land. He highlights the environmental and human cost you often ignored in the race for economic growth. But the journal isn't just a list of problems. It's a book of hope. For every issue, Dr. Sharma offers solutions. He writes about afforestation, social forestry, and stricter enforcement of environmental impact assessments. A pasted newspaper clipping tells of the National Afforestation Program and the concept of mine reclamation, restoring land once mining is done. Solutions exist, he writes, but they need people champions to bring them to life. The next chapter is called, The Veins of the Nation, Our Water. Arjun reads about the Yamuna River from its pristine Himalayan source to its dark, toxic flow through Delhi. Once a sacred lifeline, now a sewer. Untreated industrial waste and sewage are dumped into it daily, choking aquatic life. Dr. Sharma explains biological oxygen demand, BOD. In simple terms, the more polluted the water, the higher the BOD. He writes about marine pollution, a silent crisis out of sight, but devastating. Plastic waste, oil spills, chemical runoff poisoning oceans and coral reefs. He discusses the coastal regulation zone notification, meant to protect fragile marine areas, but often violated in the name of unchecked tourism and development. The journal makes it clear, water pollution isn't just an environmental issue, it's a public health crisis. Waterborne diseases like cholera and typhoid rise wherever contamination spreads. Dr. Sharma documents efforts like the Ganga Action Plan and Namami Gange mission. He praises the intent, but critiques the execution. Cleaning rivers, he writes, takes more than treatment plants. It demands stopping pollution at the source and reviving respect for water. Arjun is struck. He remembers childhood visits to the Yamuna, seeing it not as holy, but filthy. Now, he has words, science, and solutions to match his memories. Turning the page, he finds the unheard scream and the invisible threat. First, noise pollution, the blaring horns, construction racket, loudspeakers. It's not just annoying, it's harmful. Studies show it causes stress, hearing loss, high blood pressure, and insomnia. Then, a deeper danger, radioactive pollution. Dr. Sharma writes about nuclear waste from power plants, hospitals, and labs. He recalls the tragedies of Chernobyl and Fukushima, and the long-lasting consequences of radiation exposure. The journal mentions rules like the noise pollution, regulation and control, rules and the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board's role in India. But enforcement, he notes, is weak. People are unaware or indifferent. Arjun realizes, progress brings complexity. A metro line reduces traffic but causes years of noise and dust. A nuclear plant powers homes but demands flawless safety. Development, the journal says, is not about building things, it's about building responsibly. Then comes a chapter that shifts tone, the paper shield, laws and reality. Dr. Sharma lists key environmental laws like the Environment Protection Act, 1986, the Water Act, 1974, and the Air Act, 1981. He writes about pollution control boards tasked with enforcement. But he doesn't celebrate. He critiques. A law is only as strong as the will of the people, he writes. Our shield has too many cracks and pollution seeps through. He shares stories of factories that dump waste at night, projects that skirt environmental assessments. Then, hope again. The chapter highlights the Chipko movement, where Himalayan women hug trees to save forests. It introduces public interest litigation, a legal route for citizens to defend nature. Change, he writes, cannot be top-down. It must rise from the grassroots. The government can make a rule, but the people must make it real. Arjun is moved. He'd focused on law and policy, but this journal teaches him governance is about empowering people, building awareness, forging partnerships. He reads about the Solid Waste Management Rules, 2016, a rule that depends not just on government action, but on every household sorting its own waste. The shield of law, his grandfather writes, must be held up by the hands of the people. Finally, Arjun finds a chapter titled, An Inheritance of Hope. It's personal. A letter. From a grandfather to his grandson. I've spent my life documenting the problems, it begins. But you, my child, have the opportunity to write the solutions. Do not be disheartened by the scale of the challenge. Every great change in history began with the courage of a few individuals. The earth is whispering its pain. The question is, are we listening? Arjun closes the journal, heart full. The smog outside no longer feels like a burden but a call to action. He understands now, protecting the environment isn't someone else's job. It's his. It's every student's, every citizen's, every future leader's. From his UPSC textbooks to his grandfather's stories, Arjun now sees the full picture. He can segregate waste, reduce plastic, plant trees, ride a bicycle. And one day, as a civil servant, he can make sure laws are lived, not just written. The earth's whisper is no longer a cry of despair. It's a song of hope. The journey to heal our planet is long, but it begins with a single step. With awareness. With responsibility. With a generation that dares to care. To rebuild our bond with nature. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. The time to repay that debt is now. The future of India, and the world, rests on our ability. Arjun remembers the stories his grandmother used to tell, tales of predictable monsoons that arrived like a cherished friend, bringing life and relief to the parched summer fields. He recalls her vivid descriptions of gentle winters and vibrant springs that painted the land in a riot of colors. But the world Arjun sees today feels different, as if it's reading from a new, unsettling script. The seasons no longer follow their ancient, reliable rhythm. The rains, when they come, arrive with a fury. Once gentle showers now turn into raging torrents, swallowing homes and hopes in a single, devastating breath. And then there are the droughts, silent, searing, and just as destructive. Last year, Arjun traveled with his family to the mighty Himalayas, the great frozen sentinels of the north. He had dreamed of witnessing the majestic glaciers his grandfather once described, rivers of ancient ice moving with imperceptible grace. Instead, he saw mountainsides scarred with dark, exposed rock where the glaciers had receded. They were retreating, melting into fragile, unstable lakes that threatened to burst their banks at any moment. In the villages, elders spoke in hushed tones of dwindling water, of rivers that might one day run dry. This wasn't a tale from a book. It was a visible wound upon the earth. Then came the drought. The year after the floods, the skies remained a brassy, unforgiving blue. The sun beat down relentlessly, cracking the ground in his village into a mosaic of deep fissures. Wells dried up. The vibrant green of the rice paddies turned a brittle, dusty brown. Farmers looked skyward with desperate eyes, searching for rain that never came. It was a disaster that crept in silence, unlike the roaring floods but no less cruel. The rhythm of life, once set by the steady pulse of nature, had become a chaotic and dangerous improvisation. These were not isolated events. They were pieces of a much larger, more troubling puzzle. Arjun began to connect the dots. The furious floods. The shrinking glaciers. The withering droughts. It was as if the planet itself had a fever and these were its symptoms. He realized the world his grandmother had known, a world of balance and predictability, was slipping away. This brought not just unease, but a growing curiosity. He needed to understand what was happening to his home, to this beautiful, fragile planet. So, Arjun turned to someone he trusted, his science teacher, a wise woman with a gift for making complex ideas feel simple and profound. She began gently, painting a picture of Earth's atmosphere as a protective blanket, a shield that keeps the planet warm enough for life to flourish. This blanket, she explained, is made of gases, some of them called greenhouse gases. For thousands of years, they have trapped just the right amount of the sun's heat, maintaining the delicate balance that makes life possible. This natural greenhouse effect is not the enemy, she told him. It is the reason Earth is a vibrant oasis in the vastness of space. The problem, she said, is that human activities are thickening this blanket dangerously. Every time we burn fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas to power our homes, factories, and vehicles, we release massive amounts of extra greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. These gases accumulate, trapping more heat. It's like adding an extra quilt on a warm night, she said. At first, it's cozy. Then it becomes uncomfortable and finally, unbearable. This additional heat is global warming, the root cause of the climate changes Arjun had witnessed. For India, this warming brings immense risk. The melting Himalayan glaciers, which Arjun saw with his own eyes, are the source of life-giving rivers like the Ganges and the Brahmaputra. As the glaciers shrink, they threaten water security for hundreds of millions. The monsoon, once reliable, has become erratic, drowning some regions in floods while leaving others parched. And as the seas rise, coastal cities like Mumbai and Kolkata, home to millions, face the creeping threat of submersion. This is not a distant future. It is happening now, reshaping India's geography, testing its resilience. The web of life from the smallest insect to the tallest tree is being shaken. Climate change affects everything: the food we grow, the water we drink, the air we breathe. And in this moment of clarity, Arjun understood. Climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a human issue. It threatens health, livelihoods, and the survival of entire communities. The invisible gases were creating a very visible crisis. In search of solutions, Arjun discovered a powerful tool designed to protect the environment: the Environmental Impact Assessment, or EIA. He imagined it like a crystal ball, a way to look into the future before starting a large project. A new highway, a factory, or a dam. The EIA process asks critical questions. Will this pollute the river? Will it destroy a forest? Will it displace people or wildlife? It is a process of foresight over regret, meant to prevent harm before it happens. Ideally, it brings everyone to the table: the government, the developers, and most importantly the local communities. Public hearings allow farmers, fishers, and villagers to share their insights and raise concerns. At its best, EIA leads to better, safer, more thoughtful development. And sometimes, when the risk is too high, it can stop a project altogether, acting as a vital shield for nature. But Arjun also learned that this shield is not always strong. Too often, reports are rushed or manipulated, downplaying damage. Public hearings become mere formalities, while powerful interests ignore the voices of the people. The pressure to grow quickly can lead to shortcuts, allowing projects that leave permanent scars on the earth. Still, Arjun saw hope. Strengthening the EIA process, making it more transparent, independent, and accountable could be a frontline defense in the battle against climate change. It is a way to build a future with wisdom, not just ambition. Then Arjun's journey brought him to a place of profound hope, the world of clean energy. He visited a vast solar park, where rows upon rows of silent panels drank in the sunlight and turned it into power, clean, quiet, and free of smoke. He learned that India, blessed with abundant sunshine, is perfectly positioned to become a solar superpower. The same sun that scorches the land can also illuminate its future. He discovered the power of wind giant turbines turning high above the hills, capturing energy from the breeze. He learned about hydropower, where rivers drive turbines to generate electricity. And he was fascinated by green hydrogen, a fuel made with renewable energy that produces only water when used. These weren't dreams. They were real, working solutions, clean, sustainable alternatives to fossil fuels. For a country with 1.5 billion people, energy demand is massive. Relying on coal and oil would only deepen the climate crisis. But by embracing renewables, India can cut emissions, clean its air, achieve energy independence, and power a new green economy full of innovation and jobs. And in the end, Arjun's journey brought him full circle. He learned of global efforts like the Paris Agreement, where nations pledged to limit warming. He studied India's own initiatives, the National Action Plan on Climate Change, and the International Solar Alliance. But he also realized something deeper. Treaties and technologies are not enough. The greatest change needed is a change of mindset. It is about understanding that we are not above nature but a part of it. Each person, each community, each nation has a role to play. Arjun felt a growing sense of purpose. The challenge was vast. But so was the hope. A future powered by the sun, guided by science, and grounded in respect for the earth is not only possible. It is already being written.